What is up, everybody? I'm NoLuxGiven here with your afternoon snap, and today we've got a really sweet one. We're going to be taking a look at a deck that Safety Blade posted to MarvelSnapZone.com because of the brand new featured location Vibranium Mines, and we'll take a look at that on this turn. Whenever you play a card here, shovel 3 Vibranium into your deck, which is a 1/4. So we're going to be playing all cards that cap out at 4 power, plus Cerebro and Mystique to have those go up even a little bit higher. So we'll play the Cloak there this turn, typically with Lechugia, which is a very similar location, shuffles in rocks. You don't want to play there because you don't want those rocks in your deck, but we want the Vibranium because those are 1/4s. So those can be very good for us, and you might not want to play cards into Vibranium Mine super early because you don't want to fill up your deck too much, but we already have Cerebro, so we are fine to just play away. And we're looking pretty good here on turn 3. We're going to see, or turn 4 rather, Westview is going to turn into Sinister London. So that's pretty cool. That means that we can make even more Cerebros and even more Vibraniums, and that could be pretty nice for us. By the way, small mistake here. Should play the Vibranium and then the Cerebro in case I draw Mystique. That way I can copy Cerebro. This is actually my very first game playing with this deck, and one of my first times ever playing with Cerebro as well. So kind of forgot about that, but works basically the same as Patriot. So it's definitely something that you want to keep in mind. But we're going to grab 2 Cerebros here because of Sinister London. So that means all of our cards are going to have 8 power, and that should make it pretty easy that we're able to win the rest of the game. But then I realized that my opponent actually does have a little bit of a shot here. Because of Sinister London, they're actually going to be able to play pretty big cards into the big house. So that's something I wind up being a little bit afraid of. So I'm going to go ahead and Magic this turn. I have priority, and with Magic, we'll be able to just turn off Sinister London. Then I can drop a bunch of Vibranium in the big house and grab a win with that. And that looks like it should be enough. We are going to look at one more game in this video, and I'm also going to talk about a few different card choices, and maybe I'll talk about some other things that you can do in this featured location at the end of the video. I know that this is the second day for the featured location, but I wanted to put out yesterday my new card review and my game where I got Galactic, but we can take a look at some of the cards in this deck while we're waiting for our opponent now. Quinjet allows you to play the cards from the Vibraniums for free, as well as gives you some cheaper cards off Moon Girl. The one change that I made from the list that Safety Blade posted is I put in Rocket Raccoon instead of Colleen Wing. So that was one change that I made, and then Safety Blade was actually streaming this deck last night, so we decided, or 2 nights ago rather. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's Vibranium. You can get a look at it. 1/4 ongoing, can't be destroyed, which is actually important because when I saw that Killmonger, I panicked for a second. I thought that was going to destroy both of my Vibranium, but it turns out that's just not what it does. So we are A-okay here, and I'm going to drop 24 power worth of Vibranium into the big house and lock that down. And we're already winning in Limbo and Vibranium Mine, so feeling pretty good about our chances to take this one. Now, the one thing that you do have to worry about, and awkwardly, this came up a ton when Safety Blade was streaming, but there are a lot of problem locations. Oh, this was really funny too. They White Queen me and they Scorpion me, and I got nothing. So that was really silly. And then we're just gonna drop a Medusa. It doesn't matter. We don't have access to the middle lane there, but my opponent's going to wind up retreating because they cannot win this one. We'll take a look at one more game, and what I was going to say is you could cut Claw for Rhino or Scarlet Witch, just because there's a lot of problem locations that you have to deal with when playing the deck. This was my second game playing this deck, by the way, so still learning it a little bit here, but the awkward thing is only Cerebro and Mystique can get played into Xandar. And the reason for that is if you play any 4 power cards in Xandar, they'll become 5 power cards, and then only your Xandar will get pumped. I'm going to throw Cloak into the 3rd location, so that way, in case it's Vibranium Mines, we can snag some Vibranium. Again, we've already got the Cerebro and the Mystique. Now, it turns out it's going to be Sinister London. Again, I love showing off Sinister London games. It's such a fun location. But this actually gets a very awkward for us, because Cloak now has the chance to go over into Xandar. And it does. So that's really awkward. Cerebro, which I want to go into Xandar, doesn't. So this is pretty awkward, but I'm not sure if you've seen it yet. We just cloaked 2 lanes. So we actually have a lot of flexibility here to move some things around. It's not as bad as it initially looked. I'm going to move the Cloak over to Sinister London and both of the Cerebros over to Xandar, and that way we could focus on winning Lemuria and Sinister London. And I'm going to get a little bit risky here with this. I'm going to play Mystique into Sinister London and just hope that that pops over into Xandar, and if it does, that's pretty good for us. But I don't really even want to use Sinister London anyways, so I felt like this was okay to do. And then Rocket Raccoon, I do think they're going to play in Sinister London, and I want to play the Raccoon there, but it's too big of a risk that the Raccoon would then land over in Xandar and mess up the whole deck. So not going to do that, just going to throw that in Lemuria, and then we'll have Mystique. So now we're giving all of our 4 power cards plus 8+8. So you can definitely see where some of the strength of these Cerebro strategies lie. Rocket Raccoon is not going to get to 4, and thus not going to get to 12 this game, because it won't see that Khazar that shifts over, but still have the chance to play a bunch of other cards. Think about playing Crystal, so that way I can shuffle through my deck, grab some other sweet cards to play next turn, but ultimately I decide that if I'm going to do that, it's probably just as good to play Moon Girl. That'll give me 2 Cyclops, and then next turn I can play both of those Cyclops in Lemuria. So that seemed like a pretty good plan to me. Hopefully it will be enough. We shall see. And to be honest, I kind of got a little bit tunnel visioned on that play. And like I said, this was only my 2nd game playing with this deck, so a little bit unfortunate. What I should actually do here, and I don't even give myself time to really think about it. I just slam both of the Cyclops into Lemuria and press the end turn button. And then as I am waiting for my opponent to make their decision, we'll see if you see it. Can you see it right now? Oh, I actually haven't pressed end turn yet, so I could still take it back. Take it back, no Lux, take it back. No, I'm not going to wind up seeing it. There's a slightly better play, Claw plus Ant-Man into Lemuria, which adds the same amount of power to Lemuria, but a little bit more to Sinister London. And I see it like right after I press that end turn button as I wait for my opponent there. So a little bit unfortunate. We could have had a little bit more power in Sinister London, trying to smack that end turn button, but it will not work. We'll see if it winds up mattering though. My opponent with a Nightcrawler plus 2 more cards in Sinister London as well. First one's a Lizard, so that's super awkward because we could have just given that even less power. And then they have an Armor, and we wind up tying in Sinister London, which is really, really unfortunate. It was so close, but we're going to lose out on differential this game. I still wanted to show it off just to kind of talk about how locations can be problematic for the deck, and yeah, just show off what the deck can do when you don't hit the Vibranium Mines, but obviously can be a lot more consistent when you do get the Vibranium Mines. But some other things to potentially consider for the deck: you could cut the Claw, you could cut the Crystal, you could cut the Moon Girl in some capacity for Rhino, Scarlet Witch, probably not Storm. And then one other option that you do have for the deck is Enchantress, and you can also play technically Hulkbuster, and you can play just blanked on it, Colleen Wing. Brought that up earlier. That is in Safety Blade's initial list if you're looking for some more cards lower down on the curve. Now, if you were just looking for a really good deck for the rest of the day, I would probably recommend playing Destroyer and Spectrum, which is a deck that I've showed off on the channel many times. You can play that exact list or whatever comparable list you have access to, because Vibranium can't be destroyed by Destroyer and has an ongoing ability. They are basically just Colossus with one less cost and one more stats, which is a card that you already play in the deck. So grabbing access to some more of those is not bad, and the fact that the deck plays 2 separate 6-drops often means that you can actually play into Vibranium Mines a little bit heavier because you're already going to have one of those 6-drops, so you don't have to worry about, oh, am I going to dilute my deck by making these plays? So it's probably the deck that I would recommend if you're just looking for a good deck that also happens to be able to take advantage of today's featured location a little bit. But if you are looking for a really, really sweet deck, definitely try this one out. Shoutouts again to Safety Blade and Marvel Snap Zone for putting out that article. I'll leave a link for that in the video description or in the comments down below. But that is going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm No Lux Given. Peace.